Hey everyone, today we're making chicken and veggies, yum. Step 1, we need to get out all of the cooking utensils. The first one is the baking sheet, ta-da! The next item is your adapted knife. And the next item would be the cutting board or a cutting mat. Next we have to get out our ingredients. Baby potatoes. Yum. Baby carrots and chicken. There's a variety of seasonings that you can use, but we just did some salt, some grill seasoning, and black pepper. If you like stuff spicy, then you can add some cayenne to it and some olive oil. Now we're ready to make our dinner, so we have to read our directions. The first one says, preheat the oven to 400 degrees. So we look at the choices, find bake, and put the temperature at 400, and then we hit start. Next it says to set the ingredients on the counter and wash and dry the produce. So Megan's gonna open everything up and she's going to wash it. Sometimes it helps to have a colander so you can dump the potatoes in it, wash them out. Ooh la la. And then she'll dry them and do the carrots next. And we're just using paper towels to dry them off. It helps to have a bowl or a colander so you can get them off the cutting board and have room to cut them up.
So we're going to cut the carrots using our adapted knife. If they're really small, we can just go ahead and put them on the cookie sheet. But for some of the ones that are larger, we're gonna make some space. Keep your fingers out of the way and cut your carrots in half, and then put them on the cutting board.
The next thing we'll talk about is greasing a baking sheet. Some baking sheets are non-stick already, and it makes it worse if you grease them. Others you might want to put foil down, or you could just drizzle olive oil on it and wipe it out with a paper towel. This recipe has olive oil in it, and this is a non-stick baking sheet already. So we're just putting the carrots and the chicken and the potatoes directly onto the non-stick baking sheet. After we've placed the carrots on the left side of the pan, now we're gonna cut the potatoes.
So just like the carrots, you may have some small potatoes and you may have some bigger potatoes. The small potatoes you can place right on the sheet, and the bigger potatoes we want to cut at least in half, and if they're really big, you can even cut them in another piece, depending on what you want to do. Make sure to keep your fingers out of the way.
After we've cut the baby carrots and potatoes in half and placed them on the pan, we now have to add the chicken in the middle. So the chicken's gonna go right there. But when we touch chicken, we have to be very, very, very careful. So I recommend using food prep gloves, which Megan is putting on right now. And the chicken, Megan, are you gonna wash the chicken or just put it directly on the cutting board?
I am going to put it directly on the cutting board, but if it makes you feel better to rinse it off, that is okay too.
Okay, so now that she has her food prep gloves on, because we cannot let the chicken touch the counter or touch her clothes because it is raw meat, she'll take it from the package on to the cutting board.
And I am just cutting off some spots that are really kind of, you can see they're really tough. They've got the fat and a lot of stuff, and you can just take your knife and roll it and pull that kind of icky part right off and do it in a cup couple of places before we put it on the cutting board to season it.
Nice.
Okay, then we're gonna take our chicken and we're gonna put it right in the middle of the vegetables. And before I touch the olive oil and seasonings, I'm gonna take my food prep gloves off and throw them away. And then we wanna make sure that we throw away our wrappers and our chicken.
And now that she's touched it, yep, she has to wash her hands. Wash, wash, wash with lots of soap. Chicken is not safe when it hasn't been cooked.
Now we're gonna take our olive oil and very, very gently drizzle it on our vegetables, which we're gonna mix in a minute, on our chicken and our potatoes. And then we're gonna mix, you can just kind of mix it around a little bit before we pour some seasoning on.
And she's not touching that chicken, just the
Just
veggies.
the vegetables. And then I'm gonna dry my hands a little with a paper towel. And then on the veggies, I'm just gonna take a little bit of salt. I'm just gonna sprinkle a little salt and a little salt on the potatoes. And then I'm gonna do a little pepper. You can always add more seasoning later after it cooks if you feel like you want a little more flavor. Potatoes. And on the chicken, I'm gonna use grill seasoning, but you could just use salt and pepper, or you could use Cajun. We're just gonna put some seasoning on here.
And you could even use the grill seasoning on your veggies and potatoes too, however you like it.
Yep, and I'm gonna put it in the oven.
Our oven is almost ready. It's at 395. And when it gets to 400, we can add it in. Yum. And we'll go back to our directions. 400, we can add it in. But back to the directions, it says drizzle the oil and seasoning over everything and place it in the oven and set timer for 35 minutes.
Okay, so we're gonna put it in. Be very careful not to touch the rack or the side of the doors. And then
The microwave has a timer, which I like.
right here,
Mm-hmm.
timer, 35 minutes, and timer again to start it.
Nice.
So while your chicken's cooking for 35 minutes, it's a great opportunity to clean anything you use to cut or to prep your food, making sure you do extra cleaning with the stuff that touches the chicken. Make sure you get all of the stuff off.
And she's turning the blade carefully
Watching for any residue.
to get it nice and clean.
Yep. And then
There's a drying mat next to her.
And then we take our cutting mat or board and do the same thing. Lots of soap. Make sure you get all.
And very warm water, almost hot water. If it hurts your hands, then cool it down a little bit. But as warm as you can take it to clean it up.